Let's get this sent out to you guys. Let me open it myself. All right, it's good. All right, link sent out. Give everyone like 2 or 3 minutes here. Finish up on a couple of things I was looking at to finish, and then we'll rock and roll. Oh. Okay, that's exactly what we want. All right, give everyone like 2 more minutes. Hopefully ESPN doesn't give us problems like it did last year. I actually watched back the YouTube we did last year, and the entire video, it just took forever to load, and I kept mentioning it, so that was obnoxious. But neither here nor there. All right. Okay. Wait like 5:44. Do a little intro. I never updated this, huh? Oops. Okay. I'm going to have to get that set up for tomorrow. All right. I'm going to take a drink of water. I'm going to rock and roll. And then for anyone that does join, the chat's open. You can always feel free to comment, opinions, predictions, whatever. It's also going to be, I made it so it would be open on the replay. And what else? This will be recorded, so it will come back out. If you didn't get to catch it live, it'll be unrecorded in full. And then I think there's just literally this video, and then the last 3 or 4 years of predictions, and that'll be it. So first and foremost, this is crazy to think about. This is our 28th fantasy baseball season. So essentially took over all the pools from my uncle, 12 going on 13. And we start this fantasy baseball one, most of us from the intermediate school on Yahoo. And I think I'm trying to look through, like Jay was one of the originals. Josh had joined in, who's back now. When Jay went to college, I believe they met. So he was in a number of years. Jay's been in it forever. And then we got a bunch of newcomers, which is awesome. So 28 years. thank you to, I guess, really just Jay if he's been in the longest, but thank you for everyone that came on and joined this year. I think anyone that was in it last year came to the realization it wasn't really hard to see. There were people that were super inactive. The keeper league got pretty serious. We've toned it down, but I think that played a part into a bit. People thought their team was dead before the season even started. There's some people who still haven't paid for their entry fee. And then just some personal shot stuff, and we just needed a new refresher. So that's the intro on that. I kind of want to just take a second and say thank you to Jay. I proposed to him this idea of us kind of combining leagues. I don't even know it pre-Christmas, and kind of just like a shot in the dark. We threw a couple brainstorm ideas together, and then we touched on it again in the new year. And I think I want to say we maybe talked on like a Monday. I had to drive all the way up to Long Island to Stony Brook. And by the time I was on the way home from Stony Brook, we had already replaced like 4 of the 5 people that we want to replace in the league. So very thankful to him. It's kind of half my guys and half his guys. As I kind of said 3 years ago when Nico and Jay joined in, there is some heavy hitters that are coming. Josh, there was a time and period, and I think listening back in the 2024 predictions or 2023 predictions, it was like Jay, Josh, me, Jay, Josh, me, or Josh, Jay, me, or Josh, Jay, back to Josh, me. And so definitely some more heavy hitters back in. And, like Nico was obviously a heavy hitter when he joined with Jay, and now Josh. And then there's some people like Tom, my brother-in-law, who's been, we've been talking about this for a while, and he's finally getting his chance now that we're kind of started this fresh week. So just want to say thank you to all of you. Thank you for trusting in me. I try to run the best league possible, the most fair league possible. I think anyone will tell you that. I love fantasy baseball. I don't do any really other than fantasies anymore. We do hockey, kind of just keep winter alive though. I'm just glad. I'm thankful for all of you that had trusted in me, or I trusted in Jay, and I know Jay trusts me to just keep this thing going for year 28. For the newcomers who have never done this before, my predictions, he started these back on handwritten paper, believe it or not. Back in the day that I would scan and upload from my mom's Staples scan and printer back in the day, those big bulky ones that you don't see anymore. And then when I got to, I guess it would have been high school or college, maybe, I would use the library computer. I would stay after school. When I got to college, we had a lab, and in grad school, we had a lab, and I would use the computers. So then I started doing like a printout and email version. And then over the last 4 or 5 years or so, my time has dwindled. I got these 3 gremlins running around. You see the gray hairs here. That's from them. And I didn't realize how super skinny I look here. For those of you who don't know, I'm stepping on stage in like 10 weeks. I look way too skinny. Sorry. Anyway, so the last 4 years, we kind of did YouTube. Paz and I did it together. And then just with like them discontinuing Zoom and like Teams and all this other stuff, it just got hard to just do it together. And I don't want to take any more of Paz's time that he already has limited time with himself and work and the commute. So I kind of just rock and roll with these on my own. There's no hard will here. This is just my opinions. I get lucky a lot of the time. I know a lot about baseball. I, like you guys, watch the Sunday Ticket. Most of you for the NFL. I watch fantasy base. I could watch baseball from the second to the end. I get the ticket. I watch all these games. I used to watch Arizona baseball locks. I like the way they played. Obviously, was a Yankee season ticket holder for, I don't even know, 20 something years, whatever, with my wife and my cousins. And I just love baseball. So I really enjoy doing these. It's a lot of fun for me. I used to do a mid-season one too. I'm limited on time, and I had intentions of just doing my Excel kind of write-up that I was going to do. And then when today came, I'm like, listen, I love to do this. There's things that are more important in life, and this is important to me. So I'm just going to give you a full thorough run. It's not going to be as detailed, an hour and a half, 2 hours like the previous other ones. But I put a good amount of time into it. But again, no hard feelings. my opinions. Last year I went 6 for 6 on the playoff teams and did pick the winner in the championship matchup. So that was kind of cool. Paz did really good the year prior. And so I don't know. Tier wise, I always do tiers for the newcomers again. I actually had 6 tiers this year. I think there is a decent amount of splits. As people who also been in the league know, I'm very starting pitcher oriented. I will say this till I'm in the grave, and I've had great success in fantasy baseball. So take it for what it is. You have to have 5 starting pitchers to get to you to the championship matchup and to get you through the playoffs. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So if you have one, could you trade and acquire? Yes. There's offense of players come out of nowhere all the time. You find these random guys, Nate McCluth and who did I have last year? Like Duran wasn't supposed to have this crazy year. He had a monster year, and Cedric Mullins had like those 2 years. You find these guys everywhere. I used Mitch Moreland forever, and like Carlos Santana had a crazy big year for a first baseman. Again, all fantasy wise, remember we're talking. You find these offensive players everywhere. You cannot find that with the pitching. You will have a handful of pitchers that come out of nowhere that nobody knew about that you find in the free agents, and you'll have a less than a handful of prospects that you could ride for a month or two, but at the end of the day, they're going to get shut down or something happens anyway. So pitching is very, very important in fantasy baseball, in my opinion. And I've never seen a team in the 28 years of my league, at least. And I've done some with Nico, and I used to do my cousin's dynasty league. I've never seen a team get there. If you have a 7-pitcher league, you need 5. If you have a 6-pitcher league, you need 3. You got to have at least half of the pitchers being of serious promise. So you'll see as my rankings, if your starting pitching is low, you probably want to stay tuned right now. If your starting pitching you think is on the higher end, you could probably tune out right now and tune back in a half an hour before you hear your team. That's just how my opinion. That's how I roll, and I don't mean to be a broken record. You'll probably hear that 15 times more. Okay. So without any further ado, we'll get started off here. So my tier 6, there's only one team in the tier 6. And for me, that's newcomer Ryan Book, who also unfortunately missed the draft. I had talked to him today. He said actually it was a lot of, he had a lot of internet problems. So that's unfortunate. And I kind of feel like this stems from that. I hope you guys can kind of see this. It's very small on my screen. I don't know if it comes across like that in the video. I hope not. But there we go. I zoomed it in a little bit. Okay. So Ryan Book's team, I always like to just have the projections here so they hear. So, okay. My projections for Ryan Book. He has the 5th best infield. Also for the newcomers, I have a section that's infield and then a section that's called rest. Rest is composed of left field, center field, right field, DH, and utility goes into the rest. So essentially outfield plus your DH plus your best utility man is at the time. And then infield would obviously be catcher, first, second, third, short. And then I also split the starting pitchers and I split the relief pitchers. Also for the newcomers, I don't have any high regard on relief pitching. You could find hold guys, long relief guys all season long. Are some of the tier top crop guys, closers, the Class A's type? Yes, but outside of that, you have tons that get injured, ton that just end up having a bad blown save year. There's not many Mariano Rivera's, Class A's, Trevor Hoffman's around these days. Also, just before I get into Ryan Book's team, another part that was also weird about the draft. I noticed this is one of the first year, and maybe this is good for the people who didn't have that much pitching, where I feel like the bulk or the hammer of like those high-end starting pitchers is just kind of gone. There's always been those years where you had like Cole, Verlander, Scherzer, like Woodruff was there for a little while, Max Fried. I'm trying to think, like those, you're like, oh man, these 5 guys are going to the first round, like gotta have one of those aces. And then you had the years with like Smoltz and Maddox, back in the day with like the CC Sabathias and that crew. I feel like this year the crop's kind of got, Cole with the injury, but like after you're like Skubal, like really rough start to career, great 2023, obviously an elite 2024. Like, is he like a Cole level type? I don't know. He was the number one pitcher on the board. And then like, I don't even know like who was next. I guess like, Corbin Burns was in the top there. I don't know. I just felt like that, like boom, like to hit for the starting pitcher. So maybe that's a good thing for the way I'd like to do my predictions, and what I think is just that, like that top end, like real hammer that you got to have on your team, or the ace you got to have. I just feel like was missing this year, partly due to injuries and partly due to like a lot of those guys aging out. And there hasn't really been that influx of like pitchers that have gotten to that step. Like there's guys that are on their way up. Like who else is in there? Like I'm trying to think, like the Gilberts, like the Nolas, Wheeler. Like I guess Wheeler's up there. Wheeler's, he's been doing it for a while. So you have the Scooble and Wheeler. But I don't know. Kind of like the after that is like, is Max Fried really the CC Sabathia? Is he really the Garrett Cole? Is he really like the Clayton Kershaw? He was another one that was up there for a while. I would say no. So that boom. So just, I always like to have like a couple themes to the draft, and that's something I noticed this year. Okay. So Ryan Book, infield, fifth best infield and fourth best rest, giving him overall the third best offense in the league. Where it takes a hit. If you are dead last in pitching, starting pitching in my league, you are going to probably be the dead last team. He has dead last in pitching by almost 200 points to the person above him. Bullpen, which again, don't really care about, number one, and that's probably due to the auto drafting. And then total pitching he's dead last. I have him on a tier by himself in tier 6. So here, let's go through. So Tristan, very injury prone. Can't expect him for anything close to a full season. Can't really be relied on as a starter. An ankle issue. Sorry, the Gremlins are around the corner. An ankle issue cost him 2 months of 2022, delaying his arrival in Boston. Shoulder inflammation prematurely ended his 2023, and torn cartilage in his ribcage shelled him for more than 3 months of 2024. That's concerning. Last year, he also was in a little bit of platoon of handiness. Dom Smith used to pair him. So so you got a concern there. Ryan only has one pitcher over 600. Woolriff and Smith are hurt. So, I guess that could get better or get worse. We'll talk to that. Terang plays within himself, realizing that double-digit home runs are likely out of the picture. Most seasons, though, his profile leaves him very much at the mercy of Babbitt fortunes. Terang strikes out approximately once every 5 at-bats, yet only Jake Cronenworth has a lower batting average over the past 2 seasons for all players with similar strikeout rates or better. The difference with most of the other names on that list is that they make more consistent hard contact, while Terang's contact metrics are all bottom 20th percentile. So this profile for these stats and metrics for him puts him at the bottom third of the lineup, which is going to take away he'll have more chances to run, but also it's going to make it very difficult for him to score probably more than 80 runs-ish. Riley Green, unfortunately, those that have included extensive through generally unlucky absences. He had a fractured right foot that delayed his arrival in Detroit in 2022, fractured left fibula that cost him 5 weeks in 2023. Then Tommy John surgery prematurely ended his 2023 in early September, and then a hamstring strain cost him 3 weeks last summer. So is this going to be an injury-prone type top prospect? Kind of has been looking that way over the last 3 seasons. Lee, rumors are all spring that he'll be a handiness player, righties only. Has really no power to speak of unless he's going to hit over 300, isn't really fantasy ownable. So Adley's a nice piece, but we have a problem with the first baseman, the second baseman. Baum has been on the trade block. Story, I'm guessing this is a gunner, which is also an issue because what's the latest update on him? I saw he got pushed back again, which we'll talk about, really led me to the whole reason of taking Bobby Witt instead of Scooble. So he's going to start injury but his measured days, not weeks. So I don't know. Each time it looks like he was going to come back and play the spring game, he's been pushed back again. So concerning here, Trevor Story is not ownable. I don't even know if he has an everyday role. Tucker is my only, great player to one tops of the top, but my only concern here is like Chicago Cubs is known as a lefty killer. The wind blows in from right field in. That's why Ian Happ always does most of his damage power wise, not like he's not a good gap hitter and stuff away from Wrigley Field. So that would be my only concern is like, he's good enough to push through that, but also you would have to think there's some regression on these numbers. And 640 is that's a top 10, top 15 player at the end of the season. So does he get there having to play half his games in Wrigley now? Santander's nice piece. Gurriel, he's best at when he's facing southpaws. He had 317, 366, 485 against them over the past 2 seasons compared to 250, 294, 434 against righties. Arizona's retooled their lineup in the offseason, and he could be hitting cleanup this season, which would allow him to potentially drive in 85 runs for the first time in his career. However, a lot of the leading indicators and metrics around his quality of contact has really been trending and is kind of concerning for 2024. But this is a utility guy. He's got Suzuki here, which could be a nice piece to spell him. Springer's been on the downward trend for a while, could also spell him. I really didn't review bench at all, just for time constraints, but Kirk, Joey Ortiz, Friedel, Bo Naylor, probably not ownable. I'm not sure why he has 3 catchers. And maybe he'll wants Adley at the DH, I guess, but I know it's kind of a waste of a DH. Yeah, so a lot of concerns for me here offensively. It looks good on paper, very balanced, but I don't know. The more I write, the less makes me like less, and there's just a lot of factors here where I'm not sure I fully agree with the predictions of ESPN. Down to the starting pitchers. Yoshi, next challenge will be to find a way to reduce his home run rate, as he's allowed 25 more home runs in 3 of the past 4 seasons. A lower walk rate offsets some of that damage, but the long ball is what kept his ERA above 4 in all but 1 seasons he's been in the MLB. I say every year, he's really just a Marcus Stroman type, too much contact, is really like a solid 6 or 7, but this is his 2. And that's why I have it here. Mitch Keller, disappointing numbers in 2024 as his strikeout rate declined 4 percentage points, and both his ERA and WHIP worsened a bit from the previous season. Keller's average fastball velocity dropped about 1 mile per hour, and every little bit counts when it comes to velocity. His 4-seamer saw the most damage of all fastballs in the entire league, and his fastball got hit 80 points better than all of his other pitches. Right-hander is one of just 13 pitchers throw at least 175 innings each of the past 2 seasons, so he's going to eat for you. But this, in my opinion, can't be an ace. Woodruff, he missed the better part of 2 seasons due to injury, including all of 2024 after undergoing surgery in October 2023 to repair the anterior capsule of his right shoulder. While the Brewers were not committed to Woodruff being ready for opening day 2025, he was said to be in a good spot and throw multiple bullpen sessions per week. In January, let's see what the latest update on him is. So he's thrown 2 innings minor league ball on Friday. Reached 95, a tick up from 94 he achieved in one Cactus League. Plans for Wood travel to the team with New York for its first regular season series through an extended bullpen. He'll head back to Milwaukee playing a sim game. So he looks like he's probably about a month away, I'd say. You have 2-inning, a bullpen, 2-inning bullpen, then you figure 5 minor league 2-inning, and then an assignment. So yeah, I would say he's probably a month away. 503, I guess that's kind of spot on. You just have to wonder, like, what are you gonna get? What are you gonna get from him, really? I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. And then like Nestor, he had a terrible year with the Yankees last year. He was really, really bad. Robbie Ray, I had him. I held him all year, kept him late to hold him all year. And he was getting hit a ton. He couldn't throw more than like 5 innings, and he was done for the year with a hamstring. Lodolo, I wanted. And this is like the auto picks. I honestly, if anybody can explain to me how ESPN does their auto picks, I wanted Raggins, and he was down the list, and then he was also down the ADP, but then he auto-picked to Mike, which makes no sense, so that screwed me. It happened again with someone else with Mike, and then I had 3 guys, actually here, both went to him, Lodolo, Smith, and I forget who the other one must also be on Mike's team, who were like down in the ADP because they had no projection. They weren't even close. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, no one's going to know about them. This will be my 7th starter. And both of them got hold of pick here. So that was obnoxious. But Lodolo might be in a rebound year. I kind of wanted to give him a shot as my 7. So that might be nice. Verlander, I think he's just done at this point. Dustin May just never stays healthy. Every year I feel like I've drafted him and hoped for the best, and it's just not there. And then we kind of talked about Woodruff Smith. What's the update on Jones? Is he getting TG or not? TJ. He won't require surgery on his sore right elbow, but he'll be held out from throwing for 6 weeks. So, I mean, this would be nice if he comes back and ends up being okay and goes the Garrett Cole route. Jared Jones is a monster. Yeah, so I got Ryan as my 12th team right now. 11. We have another newcomer, I believe. So I did write something about Lodolo through 3 injury-riddled seasons. Lodolo's ERA is 4.52, but his xFIP is 3.74 with a 3.5 SI ERA. After posting a 29% strikeout rate over his first 2 seasons, it fell to 24.7% last season, but Lodolo was dealing with lingering effects from a stress reaction in his left tibia, a groin strain, and finger issues. His velocity was up from 2023, but he didn't generate as many swinging strikes from his curve and changeup while increasing sinker usage, which is designed to deduce ground balls and not swing and misses. He's still 27, and like I said, I feel like if he could just shake the injury bug, he'll be better. Okay, so another tier that just has 1 team in it. I feel like this team is a lot better than Ryan's due to better starting pitching, but also just not up to be able to make the tier 4, which has a couple more teams. He's just not there yet, and that is going to be Justin. So again, this, broken record. If you are low in starting pitching, you're going to be low on my list. I have Justin with only 2 pitchers over 600. That could get better. He has the potential for that to get better. I wrote here, it looks like he has Grayson, Kirby, and McClanahan on the DL. So he has this is kind of like Mike's team last year, where I had quoted that, like, if Mike had the chance to get some of these guys healthy and some of the guys to produce over what their stat projections were, I thought he'd be in a lot better shape. That ended up happening for Mike, and he made a deep run last year. This is kind of the same situation. Like, Kirby is a 559 that replaces Birdsong, like Clay Holmes, right? 287. Who knows what to make of him. Shane, and then Grayson. I guess, it would be Springs, right? Like, I'm really high on Springs. We'll talk about him, but Grayson replaces Springs. Kirby replaces Nick. And then, McClanahan, who knows what to expect from him, but he was an elite pitcher, maybe places Clay Holmes. A 559, 533, and 448 is a game changer over a 416, 287, whatever. So numbers a little bit skewed for Justin in terms of reality of what it really is. But definitely room to grow and definitely room to get better. Okay, so let's see. Okay. All right, so to the top. Okay. Contreras, great. Probably Will Smith's kind of, while he's in that elite lineup, has digressed a little bit over like the last couple of years statistically. He still puts up great numbers, but I think probably William is probably taken over as the number 1 catcher. You would think, right? Yeah, probably. Great bat. There's really nothing to say there. Alonso, my only concern with him is he had a 42% ground ball rate last season, which is 17% more than any other prior season. And then there was some other metrics that lead the way for a lot of concerning things over age 30. I know he really wanted to only stay with the Mets, and then the Mets kind of played hardball with him and were, I guess, more in tune to getting Soto first. But I think my personal opinion is he kind of lingered on for both the reasons. Both the Mets were focused on other pieces, and then also I think there's a lot of lingering metrics that I didn't write down all of them that you could look at that left him around a little bit longer than he wanted to be. Cole Keith, fine. Jazz, I don't, nothing to really say about Jazz. Like Colt and Jazz are both like nice players for a points league. Like we have a head-to-head points league. Same thing with Ellie. Like probably not all great rotisserie guys, but great there. Riot Langford had a great second half last year. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't give Justin stats. Justin, seventh best infield, sixth rest, total offense. I have him at 8. Starters 5. I put him at 5 for the potential of at least 2 of those 3 guys returning. That put him at 5. I had him a little bit lower at 9. I did make a lot of adjustments. Like I've run through this 3 times. I had him last for a little bit. Then I had him as up to 8th. And then I kind of settled him here at 11. Same thing with Ryan. I moved him around a little bit and then kind of tiered them by themselves. And then Justin has the worst bullpen, which again, like that skews his number down. Now that I'm looking at this again, maybe Justin does belong in that tier 4 because I don't care about a skewed number by 120 on bullpen. And if those pitchers do pan out, that takes his total pitching to about 4,400, more than what it's at. So that would put him at what, 5th best pitching staff instead of where he's at now, which is 9. Yeah, maybe Justin belongs in tier 4. I like to say the tiers are kind of a little bit interchangeable. I didn't really have Ryan, Justin, and as interchangeable, but maybe I'll have to go back on that. I passed through this so many times, but I might have Justin a little bit higher here. But again, it's really dependent on those 2 or 3 pitchers. Like if he gets 1, does 1 really make that big difference? I don't know. Do 2 definitely, and then all 3 game changer, complete team changer, really, because his offense is mid-pack, which is fine. Pick up the pieces. Your 6 is a playoff spot. So, yeah, maybe he belongs in this tier 4, which we'll go over next. But anyway, I'm getting off tangent here. Maybe this will be 2 hours. Sorry. Okay. Wood. Where are we at? James Wood. Michael Harris, don't need to talk about him. Dylan Cruz, Ketel Marte has such an unreal at his age. James Wood, funny story. So I travel not that crazy amount. I travel a decent amount for work. Last year in the summer, I had to go to Rochester. And so when I go away to these places, I try to find like, is there a minor league team? Or the other day I was in Tampa and I was like, oh, are the Tampa Bay Lightning playing at home? And it was just so funny last year. I've talked to Paz about this a ton, is that every single place that I went, the home team for the baseball team was what like had just left. Like they played like a Monday game. I was in Boston, where literally my office that they put me in, I was looking over Fenway. Like I was watching them do the graphics on the scoreboard for like the upcoming game to like preparation, like, batting first, this guy's stats. So anyway, so I end up going here, and Rochester, I think they're the Red Wings, were playing, and James Wood is on the team because it's the Nationals affiliate. And I text Paz and I said, dude, there is this tall dude, and he is such an asshole, and he's acting like his shit does not stink. I think I made this not okay for kids, so I can curse a little bit. And so I was like, I don't know who this guy is. And I was in my suit. I went right from work. I'm sitting in the thing like a fool in a suit in a minor league baseball game in like the first row for $6. And I'm texting Paz about this guy. So we look him up. It ends up being James Wood. He thinks he is the coolest fucking cat and that like the greatest baseball player to ever live. It was so fun just watching his body language and mannerisms. And then he gets called up, and the first thing that happens is that incident where he's like coming down the baseline and he was cursing like some of his teammates out or something for like not running out a ground ball. And I just text Paz, and I think I sent Paz the Twitter video. He would probably know more than me. His memory is way better at this stage of my life, approaching 40. But he just like, what a dick this guy is. So he's like the Ozuna for me. Like hate the guy, but like he's a talented player. But just funny story. And then like I was there. He must have got called up the week after I was there too. I also saw Joey Gallo, who also thought he was God and probably showed up like when the game started. He was on a rehab assignment. No better than he was in New York, if anybody's wondering. So anyway, he has a non-uppercut swing, which is crazy for the power he has. So he had a 55% ground ball rate as a power hitter. to really hit his power numbers. He's with the little amount that they have around him in the roster, he's really got to change that approach a little bit. And then that's really all I had to write about the offense. Goldschmidt, I don't know what to expect him. I was watching some minor league game. I was telling Paz, like, he has almost like a slow pitch softball swing. His hands are so slow through the zone now. And he used to just be a strong, massive forearms, massive buys, just power through the zone. And now it's just it's just dragging. His hands are dragging from the backside to the front side, which any baseball player or anyone that's played baseball here would know exactly what I'm talking about. And it almost looks like he's dragging so much in the slow pitch softball. So we'll say not really much here. Josh Young, we'll see what happens. He was in and out constantly last year. So we'll see what happens with that. In our Carson Strand, a lot of people have loved this guy forever. Just hasn't really panned out yet. I mean, he's still young. Okay. So Skubal, obviously best pitcher off the board. I had all intentions. So when Duke drew our draft, I had all intention of taking Skubal. And then who was under Witt? Gunner and somebody else. And the drop-off was not like Lindor's not great, but the drop-off was like a 270 points from Witt to Lindor. And I just thought that shortstop got too short for whoever that third shortstop was that got hurt. Was it Seager? I mean, Seager's always hurt. I don't know. I don't remember who it was, but whoever that drop-off was, that kind of changed my mind, where I felt like the shortstop was the best route to go. But love Skubal. Just, tough to come across wins, honestly. How many wins did he have last year? I mean, so they have him pinned for 16 this year. He had 18 last year. That's a great season. 239. We knew about that. Ks are up crazy. Yeah. So, I mean, 814 is probably right around what he'll do. I mean, maybe he regresses a tiny bit, but they kind of have that reflected. Okay. Green. So alarming injury history and what is really a young MLB career for him. And he has had IL stints at least 5 weeks in length in every single season, 3 seasons, and multiple 3 times. So 598 to me is way, way, way more than I like. And in 164 innings, last year he threw 150 and with 1 IL stint. So they're just expecting he's on average on the IL 1.7 times per year, which is on average, would that be 5? He's misses on average 5 starts a year, and then all of a sudden he's going to throw 14 more innings, let's say give or take 2 more starts than typical. I'm not seeing 598. This is he's probably closer to the low, I would say under 550 than he is to approaching a 600 point pitcher. Spencer, find it hard to believe he's one of the great ones. Like everyone's talking about, like, oh, Spencer's a must pick this year. He's going to be one of the great ones. And he's just going to avoid sophomore metrics. Like it happens to all pitchers, or hitters. Look at Corbin Carroll last year and ends up rebounding in the second half, had a tough first half. Happens to everyone. It's just the best of the best have a sophomore slump and have sophomore metrics that are all elongated over all this time. He's also a brand new pitcher, essentially. He was a shortstop for minor leagues, and then he went closer to end minor leagues, and then he became a starter. So he's gone. It's not like he's been a starting pitcher his whole life or a long man his whole life, and then now he's been stretched out. Like I don't know, the hype, like again, 570 that he's getting off of being essentially a brand new pitcher, through 123 last year. He had a good season. I can't. You're giving him 130 bump in a sophomore metrics over 50 to 60, 75 years that they've kept this stuff. I don't know. Also, arguably now with the addition of Soto and everyone the Mets brought back, and the Nationals at least getting some offense. The Phillies having the same and retooling. Like this is probably the best, at least offensive division. I know there's the Phillies after their top 2 and the Ranger injury and Sanchez having his injury stuff. Maybe not the best pitching division or overall division, but like they're probably the best offensive division, right? Like as a whole, a balanced whole with all the teams together. So I don't know. This seems crazy to me, and that's kind of why I have him down a little bit longer. Senga, Not really much to speak on it. We need to see what he's really going to be. I mean, he has a great arsenal, but and I actually went and looked this up. I'll talk about this with somebody later. Somebody has two Korean pitchers, but I went back and looked at the stat from the podcast last year. The success WAR, which is the MLB has a median number that grades successful over and under. Korean pitchers have a under 1% WAR success rate, and that's including the likes of Senga and Yamamoto and Otani and Tanaka and all these guys. So their WAR at graded out over the positive number is less than 1%, and I will never have these type of pitchers because they just don't pan out. They just don't. Nick Martinez, people are banking on repeat numbers, but fail to realize his best numbers came in the RP role last year, not as an SP. He's also never had a full season as a starting pitcher workload-wise. He's always been a Stroman type in terms of strikeout repertoire, which never bodes well for fantasy numbers. And as a starter, he also gave up more home runs and fly balls compared to RP numbers, which he used a lot more sinkers, inside two-seam fastballs, which has ground ball metrics. So he's kind of exhausting the gas tank, as they like to say, in a relief pitcher role. And then when he tries to use his fastball more so he could elongate his starts and stretch himself out, he's giving up way more home runs and fly balls. So again, this is another guy. I guess 500 is not terrible. I would say he's closer to 450 and probably not ownable. I just don't think the workload, full-time starter, his repertoire is for this type of thing. Role. Springs Athletics had pinned him for a 150 inning max workload. ESPN took their 150 and said they only think he's going to throw 120. So this to me is another non-ownable starter. But as again, we talked about earlier, like this is where things can really change. Kirby for Springs, Grayson for Clegg, Shane for Nick. We have a different ball game here, or however he wants to retool it. But I just have after school bowl concern. And then what's Clay Holmes going to be? I don't know. He's looked great in the spring, but he's pitching against me, and I know Josh used to play college baseball. He's throwing against me, Josh, and Pods. It's like, well, Kratz and Nico. it's like not that doesn't impress me. So yeah, and that's why I have Justin at 11. Okay. This brings me to tier 4. I have 3 teams in tier 4. I kind of almost got away with doing from this point forward. I really just did the tier, and I didn't exactly give a number ranking. I just had 12, 11. I really just did the numbers based on who I thought had the better offense after the reason for the pitching. So number 10, but really in no particular order, I am going to go with Jay, which is surprising, as I also listened to in the last podcast. Hey, broken record. I'm broken recording. Going to the last podcast, I said the same thing last year, is that I just think Jay missed the ball in his draft here, which I'm not used to doing or not used to seeing. But I always have faith in Jay. But then in the 2 times I did say I thought he missed the draft, or the 2 times he missed the playoffs, and probably the only 2 times since I've been with him in these 28-ish years, or he was out for a little bit, but for the 24-ish years, let's say, he's made the playoffs, I think, every time. So maybe I'm onto something. Bad draft. I think it's a bad draft, and he's missed both times. Hopefully I'm wrong on this one for him. But again, these are interchangeable. So these, I guess, would be the last 3 out of the playoffs. Or no, there would have to be 1 more. So last 3 and then a 6. Okay. For Jay, infield 10, rest 11, which has him the worst offense in the league. Starters 8, bullpen 2, which he knows I hate when he loads his bullpen. I still don't understand why he does it. And total pitching puts him at 7. Starters kind of pull him down. Bullpen kind of pushes him up and mediums out. Like I said, the 10, 9, 8 are interchangeable here. This tier, the next tier, all the next 4 tiers are interchangeable teams. Let's get his projections up. Okay. I have Jay here. Again, I'm a big pitching guy. 3 pitchers over 600, and I just have him at 10 because I thought, and he's got the worst total offense. So I like this Wilson Contreras pick, while this 340 is going to end up being super low because he's going to be the full-time first baseman now. which is something that I talked about in Jay's not last year, 2 years ago when he had like the Ruiz. Was it Ruiz, Will Smith, and Dalton Varsho? Do I still have a good 40-year-old brain? Maybe I do. That might be the three. I didn't like where he had like no ability to interchange them because of their position eligibilities. And then like Dalton was starting in center field, but yet he was getting catching numbers and he just belonged better somewhere else. I think it was those three. Anyway, Wilson is going to first now. We do defensive points in here. I hope people like pulled up the league settings in here. It's nothing crazy, but it does give a good boost to like a guy, I don't know, like a guy that's supposed to be a 400-point player ends up being a 5. Definitely boosts first basemen. I always talk about how I used to use Mitch Moreland forever. The guy started every single day. They never gave him a breather. Every year he was scooping balls and end up scoring 200 more points, and now he's like a 700-point player when he doesn't belong there at all. So Wilson Contreras getting a 150 or 200, even if they spell it in 33% increments or whatever, with where he's going to catch or DH first, or maybe he'll be 75-25, just catcher in first. That's a good 100 to 150 for Jay, and that almost puts him at his brother's projected total that we just went over with Justin. So this was a nice pickup. I thought he might be able to go a little bit later. I should have known that Jay would have the knowledge of that and snipe him a little bit earlier, and some other people may have knowledge of that, and I should have probably grabbed him earlier. But that will be big for the Contreras brothers. Maybe end up being 1-2 this year. That'd be pretty cool. I mean, I guess they don't give a shit about fantasy, right? But if they end up being 1-2 fantasy catchers, I don't know. As a nerd about fantasy baseball, kind of cool to me, and I'm sure the MLB won't care. Anyway, so we have that. That's my note for Wilson. And then McLean, Raz fine. Oblique shoulder rib injuries cost him a final in 2023 and the entirety of 2024. But McLean returned to action during the Arizona Fall League, delivered a 240, 356, 520 rates while seeing time at 3 different positions, second, third, and center. He'll be ready to compete for a utility role this spring, and with a strong March, should be able to pick up where he last left off. Potential 2025 player. With that being said, McLean does have a lot of swing and miss in his game, putting at risk for slumps and a low batting average. I didn't check, so where do they have him? Describe himself as a good spot heading 24. He's expecting to bat second in the order for the Reds. So it looks like he did win the spot. He's going to take over at second, so it could end up being a sneaker picked in the 402 projections, which probably has him when he was in that like timeshare spot. Bregman, the flack remains that Bregman, I had him for as a 3-year keeper, and then I renewed him for 1 or traded for him, and he was not good the last 3-4 years, honestly, really dating back to that like 2018 season. But the fact remains he hasn't had a better than 46th percentile stat cast barrel or better than 51st percentile hard hit rate since 2018. I will say that lofty percentiles, though, could help him with now being at the Green Monster, which is something that like the Tyler O'Neills and stuff really like increase their game in numbers. Xavier Edwards, with some of the worst quality contact metrics in the league, Edwards depends on a low strikeout rate and a high ground ball rate to yield a high batting average. His career 245 extra base hits suggests regression is coming, but Edwards' speed should allow him to overachieve his estimators. Power, on the other hand, is non-existent. Edwards' fantasy value is driven by stolen bases, but he'll be challenged to match last season's pace with a likely drop in on-base percentage. Rafaela, offensive productions is below league average as a rookie. Sophomores, they usually digress from those numbers. He finished in the bottom 5 among all qualified hitters in on-base percentage. So that's super concerning as a starter. So you have like 1, 2, kind of 2 concerning starters, and then I guess McLean gets a bump up, so maybe they kind of negate each other, but that's another concern. Soto, nothing really to talk about. Diaz, I've always used to love Yandy, but he has some metrics here that are starting to go down a little bit and did affect my dad last year on the team, but he continues to sport elite quality contact metrics, but since he hits grounders more than half of the time, he's unable to take full advantage. Not only did Diaz's power drop, but his batting average and runs in scoring position fell 90 points, limiting his RBIs. After carrying a double-digit walk rate over the previous 5 seasons, Diaz's patience went away last season, leaving him with the second lowest on-base percentage of his career. It appears 2023 will go down as Diaz's career year. And like I said, nothing really to say about Berger, and I really just didn't do the bench. Mayer, I don't. It looks like he went heavy on the prospects this year. Oh, wait, didn't Campbell win the second base starting job I saw? Or did I not see that? It doesn't look like it's here. He says he earned a spot on the roster. Yeah, it looks like he's going to start second base. So, okay, so that 100 is not crazy. I honestly don't know who this is. Marcio Mayer, never heard of him. And then Prospect. Okay, so he went kind of prospect happy. Roy Suarez, Alvarez. All right. Okay, brings me down to the pitching king. Risk of an ERA aggression as his StatCast xERA should be nearly 3/4 of a run higher than it was last year. So we got pretty lucky last year. So regression here, I'd probably say he doesn't crack 600, but I gave Jay the benefit of that anyway to give him the 3. Alcantara, the Marlins have already said that they're going to cap his innings at 150. ESPN projects he's going to throw 127. So that's concerning. I guess 475, great, but there's going to have to be some backup plan, especially if Jay is in the playoffs or making a run. Like Sandy's not going to be there to help him out for that, regardless of what he does in the season. So that's going to be like a get me there, but then I need to find help kind of situation. After that is Gore, 3.9 ERA and a 1.42 WHIP do not go together, with the latter implying Gore was fortunate when it came to run prevention. It's reasonable to be picking up Mitch Keller vibes here because of similarities in their career paths. Whether or not Gore controlled their 180-plus inning workload is the lingering question. And then Brian Rue, he just continues to battle these career-long elbow and forearm issues. Like, he has so much promise, and then every year it's the same stuff. And then I thought I saw this year too, he's got with the benefit of the pitching, I thought I saw he still thought he had some lingering stuff, but you just got another, and you got to worry about it. So worry, Gavin Williams, Gore unsure, Lugo like out of control year out of nowhere. I don't know. Sandy concerning, especially late in the year. King down for regression, and Crochet is an ace. So that's where I have Jay. 9. My parents here, back to back. All right, so 9, I have my dad. Again, these 8, 9, 10 are interchangeable. I thought I taught my dad enough by this time to get some pitchers on this roster. All right, for my dad, I have him at 4th best infield, but then he has the worst outfield. I feel like he was in the same situation last year. Unreal infield, bad outfield. I don't remember. I can pull it up, but I don't know. Anyway, total offense 10. Starters 10. Bullpen 3. He should know better than that. I always tell him bullpen's not important. And total pitching 8. And then I have him as 9. He's got 3 pitchers over 600, and I put him at 9 because the 10th worst offense. Okay, notes. All right. Jonathan India needs to make frequent contacts. His quality of contact metrics are well below average. He sports below average power, though playing his first 4 seasons in Great Amalba Ballpark helped him clear double-digit homers each year. He'll be challenged to match that power now that he'll play half of his games Kauffman Stadium. Though his new home digs should help increase his BABIP, so overall production won't suffer too much. The Reds stole 73 more bases than the Royals last season, but India's 87% success rate over the past 2 years should keep Mac on the base pass, but just something to note. What do they have him pinned at? 15? Yeah, so maybe that's about right. Seager, just like I just listened to this too on the podcast before. Like, it's unreal. At some point in time, I'll just send a text in the group chat and just say, hey guys, go sort the average scoring for our players in our league. And Corey Seager will be probably number 1 at the least 3. The problem with owning Corey Seager in a fantasy baseball league is that he's always hurt. So you always have to have a backup plan. And then at the end of the day, to beat somebody head-to-head, you have to have more total points. And to probably get to where you need to be, you have to have more total points than somebody else. Yes, there are situations like in our hockey league, I scored like 600 more points than the team next to me, and I was like the 4th or 5th seed. That does happen. But ultimately, at the end of the day, over 26-ish or whatever ends up weeks of being 22 weeks and then 4 playoff weeks or whatever, you have to statistically score more points than the other person over a period of time. So if Corey Seager averages 4.7 or 5.1 points per every time that you have him in the lineup, that's great. But at the end of the day, if at the end of the season comes and he only scores, like right here, they have him projected for 513. If he only scores 529 points, he's just another player. And that's kind of what sucks about owning Corey Seager, is that he ends up becoming just another guy. And again, at the end of the year, like, I wish you could pull up what his average was last year. But at the end of the year, like, let's just look at this for this year. Guerrero is a 631 player. He's going to average 4. Corey Seager is going to score 140 points less or so, give or take 130 points less, and still average 3.9. This is great, but this is not, because this should be 700 something plus. That's the problem in a head-to-head points league with having a Corey Seager. You could get away with his injuries in a roto league because he will have the numbers to help you beat someone in roto. But when it comes to total points over the season-long statistics, he actually ends up kind of hurting your team. So that's just my take on Seager. It stinks because it would be crazy to see what he could do over a full season, averaging 4.5 a game. He would probably break the fantasy baseball points record for points. He's just never healthy. So he spent time on the IL in 5 of the past 7 seasons. He's missed a combined 333 regular season games just in the past 5 seasons. A hip issue cut to 2020 for sure in early September, and then he had hernia surgeries to end the season, one in January, and then another one in September. It's just tough. Nimmo, once an on-base machine, Nimmo has seen his OBP fall from over 400 during his peak years to just 327 last season. His batting average fell 500 points at 224, ranking him in the bottom 12 among qualified hitters, while his slugging dipped to 400. Morale was batting just 199, 302, 373 when the Cubs dealt him to the Rays just before the trade deadline. He performed even worse in the junior circuit, posting a 191, 258, 289 line with Tampa. Muncy, he's a low average, high on base percentage slugger from the left side. Given the death in Los Angeles lineup now, they reloaded and loaded even more. You can't even call it reloaded, just loaded more. And his splits in the recent years, it seems likely that what they've been talking about all season is he's going to be in a platoon starting primarily against right-handed pitching. So in his offense, Cal Raleigh, fine. Vlad, fine. India, we have an issue with. Matt Chapman, a career year last year, I guess 428 is fine. Seager is going to be hurt at some point in time. Nimmo drastically digressed. Edman had a really bad season, really, until the playoffs. Tatis had a bad season for him. Morale had no season, essentially. And then Max Muncy's in a pursuit. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players with concerns and a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 person lineup. So over 50% of your lineup has concerns offensively. And then kind of the same route here with these injury-ridden guys. My dad kind of went the same route with the pitching staff. So Fried, he's going to have to be the ace. Has no choice now with Cole being out. Fine. Glasnow had Tommy John surgery in 2021 after missing time early in his career with a shoulder injury. He missed time the year before that with forearm trouble. And he does flash consistent brilliance in between. He reminds me of Nathan Eovaldi. He's been trending in the right direction with his workload since Tommy John surgery and proved to be a nice fit in Los Angeles, but then had another injury. So it really makes his expectations tough to pin down entering 2025. Like, even if he is healthy and cruising, the Dodgers at some point in time are probably just going to put a limit on his innings so they don't get hurt and they have him for the playoffs because they have this loaded and revamped team that they went over 212 million over the luxury tax. Like, they're not going to let these guys when they have this just bulk load. And then I don't understand why they didn't trade any of these guys in the minors. They got they had the Dustin Mays and I guess Pepitu they end up getting rid of. And then they have the other 2 kids. There's 3 guys in their names. I don't know. They're blanking me. Neither here nor there. They just bring those guys up for a couple weeks. They're going to have the division won by 20 games anyway, and then Glasnow's on a limit. So again, it's like this is like kind of like the Alcantara thing. I need you for the season, but then when I need you most in the playoffs, if I get there, you're going to be gone. And when are you going to get injured? How long might I have to deal with you being injured? So Glasnow, just a not for me guy. Sonny Gray, just like Glasnow. I had him last year. Like, you're constantly checking every single week after every single start. Is this guy okay? Is he not okay? Do I got to find a replacement? Is he going to pitch this week? That is Sonny Gray in a nutshell. So Like Glasnow, health remains his biggest question. He already admitted again, like just a couple weeks ago, his velocity and control is down in the spring. He started his throwing program late because he opted out of the elbow surgery. He went the Garrett Cole, Tanaka route with that doctor who does the non-Tommy John surgery. And so, which ended his season last year for me in the playoff run when I had to move on from him. So he's already trending in that non-injury. I see he's day-to-day here. Is he making the opening day start tomorrow? He was supposed to. Oh, now he's battling the flu too. Like he's just talent. Like fine for if you're managing a real baseball team for fantasy. It's just you don't want guys on your roster you have to constantly be concerned about. Chris Bassett, ERAs last year was half a run higher than the previous season, while his 1.46 WHIP in 2024 was the second highest among all qualified starters in the MLB. Bassett's walk rate was his highest since 2018, but the bigger culprit was a 3.33 BABIP, third highest among all qualifiers. Bloated hit rate can be a misfortune, but can also be a sign of a pitcher being more hittable. Bassett's strikeout rate is a tick below league average, so he needs to minimize traffic to be effective. Bassett's track record warrants the benefit of the doubt, but he'd be 36 years old this season, so a full rebound I would think would be challenging, especially in the AL East. Pitching in the AL East isn't conducive, like I just said, to favorable matchups, relegating Bassett to really deep leagues, at least until he demonstrates that turn previous controls. Eflin he had that awesome year, and then last year he was just kind of back to himself. So I don't know, 573 might be a stretch. Max, I have no idea I didn't even know he was still trying to give this a go. And then Charlie Morton, he's just like the clock that keeps on ticking. So I mean, that's a nice 7, but I don't know, too many concerns here for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's kind of why ends up 9, and then 8. So this is the end of tier 4. Like I said, Mom, Dad, Jay, interchangeable, 8, 9, 10. Mom's team, swing and a miss. Okay. All right. Mom has 3 pitchers over 500, slightly above Jay and Dad, merely because she has the 9th offense. Jay had she had the 9th offense. Jay has the 12, and Dad had the 10. So I just tossed her at 8. Okay. McCarthy, Torres, Freeman, Westberg. So McCarthy's game is all about speed, making contact, because the quality of his contact is some of the worst in the league by most measures. His slash and dash approach works as long as the bat ball fortune swing his way, but he still has a minor league option remaining. So another 2023 slump that he had could see McCarthy returning to the biggest little city in the world, which is the minors and Vegas. Betts, big concern about Betts here because this is Mom's best player, and arguably Betts has probably been, if you grade out the guys in the top 10 who just are constantly there, I feel like Betts is in the top 10 or top 5 consistently more than any other a player in a long time. Always there, always scoring over 600, 700 points, sometimes even 800 points. And then, some guys have some injuries and they bounce out or bounce in, or just have a down year, bounce out, bounce in. Betts is literally there. But I'm reading that there's concerns he had mono, and then he also had a living stomach parasite, and he's lost 21 pounds. I don't know if, I know most of you should know what Mookie Betts looked like. He didn't have 5 pounds to lose. So losing 21 pounds, very concerning for me. I did see that he is going to plan on playing tomorrow, but 21 pounds in a professional sport is a lot. So yeah, he's going to be ready to play in the opener. So that's concerning. He missed the 2 international games. I don't know. That's just a tough thing to read on the person that's supposed to be kind of your best player and your offensive night. That's really all I have on Mom's offense. I don't really mind the rest. Reynolds fine, Rengifo fine, Castro fine, Turner, yeah, Shaw, Westberg, new fence moved in. That should be great. He's a big pull hitter. Jeffries will go up to the starting catcher, Newbar, Kauser, a lot of guys with multiple eligibilities. So then we'll go down to the pitching. BB, I don't love these stats as Mom's number 3 pitcher. If he was a 6 or 5, fine. His home run rate ticked up, but it was still below the league average. BB's 4-seam fastball registered a negative 8.5 pitch value after landing at positive 6.5 his rookie season. However, he did generate more swinging strikes and threw it in the zone more often last season. Last year's hard hit and barrel rates against were lower than his rookie season, but the BABIP on his four-seamer was way higher, driving down the pitch value of just throwing a standard four-seam fastball. Pivota had his moments of fantasy greatness over the years, best exemplified on a cumulative basis by him having the 13 most strikeouts across the past 4 seasons. Still, he's like a for fantasy, very hot spells and cold spells. And they're, the hot spells he goes on are much more few and far between than the cold spells. He also has a lot of injuries, occasional wildness, and extreme fly ball rate have been obstacles standing in his path towards, really solidify himself as an over 600 pitcher and someone that's draftable. Matthews Boyd's career has been reflected much on streakiness in terms of control, and his injury history is a major concern and just really probably not ownable. Maybe the wind blowing in helps him a little bit, but I don't know. Spencer in his first half pitcher, he was a 3.6 half. Are we going to see the second half pitcher when he threw to a 3.31 or something in the middle? I would say the first half and the middle are probably not ownable. The second half, obviously, anybody would take a 3.31 pitcher. I wanted Reese Olsen. She sniped me on that. That's a nice piece. Just, Shota, I don't know. Like he, got shoved the other day. And then Snell, he had a great year last year, but he's usually a 5-inning guy. And then again, like he's another one. Like is a Dodger just going to shut him down when it matters most and for us to meet the playoffs and they're 20 games over 500 or 20 games over the team behind them and 60 games over 500? I don't know. Okay. Tier 3 has 2 teams in it. I've moved these 2 teams back and forth again. They're interchangeable like 4 times. I had the team I'm going to talk about now much higher in tier 2, and then taking a look again, I moved them down to tier 4. Then I moved them up to tier 3. Then I had them in the front of tier 3. Now I have them in the back of tier 3. So I've done a lot of playing around with the teams that are all above this after doing my multiple walkthroughs. So that team is going to be Josh. Josh has the 6th best infield, the number 1 rest, and the number 2 total offense in the league. And then again, you finish the bottom of the starters, you're going to be on the bottom of my thing. He's got the 11th best starting pitchers. He has the 5th best bullpen. Total pitching is 11. That's kind of why he ends up here. Have to have better pitching for me, projectionally at least. Yamir Diaz, crazy great year last year. I guess he could be in the conversation too with the Contreras brothers, huh? Or William, I guess I would say. Josh Naylor, one concern: Chase Field in Arizona, his new home venue. So it has suppressed his lefty power versus metrics over a long time, ever since they put the humidor in the stadium. Unlike his old days in Cleveland, which has always amplified pop for lefties because it blows like across from home plate across for the lefties, so they could really like circle around that draw, essentially a draw golf drive on the foul pole. So that would be a little concerning. Maybe 504. They have it pinned down on that. What do they have for 20 and 104? What did he hit last year? He hit 31 and 108. So they probably have this about spot on. This will probably RBIs maybe down a little bit more. So maybe he's closer to like a 480. He also will get first base points though. So he probably ends up finishing actually 550, 600 with the defensive points. Nico Horner, this is one thing I always talk about every year. In my opinion, offensive players, and this is for data over literally since it became war. There's 3 things that you want to avoid in offensive players: forearm injuries, anything with flexor tendons, which is tendons that are going from wrist to essentially elbow, and it runs along there on the inside and outside. There's about, I think, 7 that ended up kind of sprawling out there. Wrist broken or whatever, hand broken, break, fingers, whatever, and then the flexors, the tendons, the flexors, and ligaments. They all have, I just looked up the stat again. So anybody with those injuries, and when they come back, stats have shown over the years that their projected point totals have been 203 less on average after coming back from those injuries. So that is huge in a points-based league that he comes back from that injury. He didn't get procedure on it last year, still was addressing it this year. And if, let's say, he has that average of 203, That brings him down to a 300 player, not ownable. If he has half of what the average stat is for those players, obviously there's some at 400, some at 100, and you kind of meet in the middle at the 203. Or I don't know, Paz is usually my guy for that. You have 300, 100, right? Then that would be 200. I guess that would be the median, right? You cross out 3 and 1. So 200. So if he has 100, then 413, still like that's like a borderline starter or not. So that's a big concern for me. Garcia, he had a 69 WAR plus, being the lowest among all qualified hitters in the MLB last year. His game is putting the ball in play, mostly on the ground. His hard hit rate and average exit velocity are above average, but not stout enough to supply much pop and power suppress in Kauffman Stadium. Garcia is not a patient batter, so his time at or near the top of the order are likely over, especially with Jonathan India and Vinny now back from injury. Relying on Garcia for steals and slippery slopes, and someone else such as Kevin Biggio can also cut into Garcia's playing time. So concern is a starter. So I have a concern here with how many the numbers will actually be, concern here with the injury, concern here with split time and digressing numbers. And then we have another concern coming up. Bo Bichette's coming off a terrible season, which is also ravaged by injuries. He had a 599 OPS after a 3-year mark of 815. Very troublesome, at least doubling last year's 4.4% barrel rate. He only barreled up 4.4% of balls last year. His steals also fallen since he swiped 25 in 2021. He hasn't come close to that. He notched 5 bags last year. So return to double digit is possible, but I don't think we're seeing 20 plus ever again. He did say that he tried to be more selective last year. He's going to just return back to a free swinging approach. So I don't know. That's 4 in a row that are concerning for me. Vinny, I just saw this. I know I just talked about it up here, but now he's injured again. He'll go through a full walker on Wednesday, be reevaluated. It's grade 1 hamstring strain. So it's early. He's young, but is this somebody we're going to call an injury-prone player? Because now we're going on 3 seasons, including the minors, where it's just been injury after injury after injury every year. I mean, he's a warrior and played with that broken thumb last year, which was crazy in the playoffs. But, like, I don't know. I'm starting to get concerned about him, someone that was supposed to be promising. The rest is fine, so we'll go down to the pitching. Gilbert Fine, Ryan Fine, Gossman. I have no idea. I text either Paz or Jay this, maybe both. How in the world is Kevin Gossman projected to score over 650 points? His velocity was down in 2024, and his strikeout dips along with it. His surface numbers improved over the final 2 months, but the strikeouts never rebounded. He's below a 20% K rate now. And just a year ago, he had like one massive year. All the other declines, he just went back to the metrics that he was until that outlier year. I have no idea how, and this is kind of why I ended up switching the person that I put at 6 and 7 is because, like, does he even really have 3 600 plus pitchers? I don't know if he does. I don't know. If Kevin Gossman scores this amount in that division with those numbers and one outlier season, props to Josh on picking that up. I don't know. I can't see it. I usually do like the 5 players I think are most undervalued and the 5 players I think are most overvalued every year or overprojected, underprojected. I didn't do it this year, but I would say this is the most overprojected so far that I saw while doing these. Pepitu's fine. Baz, he had a 3.6 ERA with the Rays. Looks effective, but he also had a 4.39 xFIP and a 4.33 SERA. Different picture. His strikeout rate was way down while his walk rate was up relative to his pre-injury levels, so that's concerning. He had a lot of promise, just hasn't lived up to it. And then for me, Lesrado and Joby and Jackson are just complete question marks. So this is why I kind of end up moving Josh on another 2-3 take through. Like the offense, like the balance on the offensive end, but I'm not in love with. There's too many questions here for me, and this probably ends up being 2 pitchers over 600, not 3. Okay, 6. My brother-in-law Tom, another newcomer. I like Tom's team. And this would be the first. I'll do like a who I think is going to make the playoffs after. But Tom would right now. Again, these are all interchangeable. The tiers, at least within the tiers. So right now, I would have him as the last team in. But we shall see. Okay, Tom. Numbers wise, 11th best infield, 2nd best outfield, or 11th worst infield, 2nd best outfield. Total offense, because the outfield is so good, ends up coming to 4. kind of a lot like Josh's team, and they kind of have the same like metrics, and Tom's pitching staff's just so better. Seventh for Tom's starters, Tom's bullpen 4, total pitching 6, and total team. What I said, I have him at 6. So to Tom's credit, he didn't ask me. We always bullshit about baseball, but he didn't ask me like for any help or anything. So he did this all on his own. So pretty cool, pretty good. Good for him. All right. So from the top, Matt Olsen posted his worst OPS and OPS plus, as well as his worst strikeout, walk, home run, and hard hit and Statcast barrel rate since the abbreviated 2020 campaign. Although his cumulative numbers round up looking eerily similar to his 2022 effort, his 2024 looked unusually and unlucky. What did I write here? Oh, the fact that he finished the year on a 282, 385, 73 and a 16 home run flourish across the base final 60 games suggests that he should rebound a little bit to a degree. Volpe, for people that don't know, I used to, Paz knows about this, and I've told Tom about this before, I'm pretty sure. I used to film high school sports, and there was a little while where I was kind of trying to make it my full-time thing until I realized I just couldn't do it. And I ended up covering Volpe and Jack Leiter when they were on it's Dumbarton, right? In their playoff games. And I had said there came a time where like the Yankees used to draft less players now. They were like, oh, the number one guy on our list is Volpe and Jack Leiter. And I was like, well, I hope they don't get Jack, because it's well known that he's going to the Vandy. And then I was like, and I hope they don't get Volpe, because I've seen him play a bunch of times and he does not have a swing for the MLB, and he's going to really struggle hitting. He also has like a pretty weak arm, which he has improved a little bit defensively. But anyway, so that brings me to here, where it's just like everything I'm seeing in the MLB that everyone's shocked about and like couldn't believe is just like everything I saw in high school. And then when he was in the minors, he didn't have great numbers either. So I don't know why everyone expected him to be like even crazier than he is now, because he's really just doing exactly what he did in high school in the minors. So anyway, Volpe's sophomore season reflected only minimal growth from his rookie. And just like most sophomores, a lot of things going down. Mostly in his form, his contact rate was the biggest one. Almost every other underlying metric also regressed. He'll either need to boost his ground ball rate or his contact quality metrics, preferably both, in order to move much further up the ranks as a shortstop. Brendan Donovan. Contact is the name of the game with Donovan, who sits with a 13.7% strikeout rate and even 280 average through 1,491 career plate appearances. His bat is lacking in terms of thump, however, ranking in the bottom half of the league in average exit velocity and hard hit rate last season. Donovan logged 652 plate appearances in 2024, second on the team to Paul Goldschmidt, but he manages 14 home runs and 5 steals, providing fantasy managers with little juice. He's more than a slap hitter, but his value is heavily dependent on volume, much so than the other hitters in his range. Alec, after making a lone solitary start against a lefty pitcher in 2023, he made 26 against them last year, but he just managed a fit 5.14 OPS, and 3 of his 21 homers came off of them. With that, he's a candidate for reduction in playing time now, and either the way of steals are also likely not sustainable given his limited sprint speed. So he's going to digress in steals. He's only going to hit against righties. So this is a tough player to have as your starting right fielder. Yelich, I had him last year. He had full disc removal on his back. That's just, I don't know. It's sketchy, and this is a pretty lofty projection from me, considering he's been off and on the DL with that back for years. And then now he's coming off of surgery on it. I don't know. I just don't love it. Ozuna, not my cup of tea. I like the bench, though. He's got a nice little replaceable pieces. And I only really wrote one thing. Tom is the one that has 2 Korean pitchers. So as I talked about earlier, they have a 1% positive WAR rate in the entire MLB. He's got 2. So this is, this 648 would be concerning for me, which is kind of like I said about Josh's team. Does he end up only having 2, which would be concerning? I do think he has the better pieces, though, to fill out the staff than Josh's. Sale, nice. But I don't know what to make of these 2, concerning for me. So that's Tom at 6. That opens up tier 3. I have 2 teams in tier 3, and then that was tier 3. Tom and Josh, interchangeable, 6-7, 7-6. Then tier 2, I have 2 teams again, also interchangeable. I've kind of held pretty strong on this just because I like the ones infield a lot better, and then their infield is so good that it brings up their offense to 5. But I like the starters on the other team more, so I had a little conflicting. But at 5, I got Paz. Like his starters better than the team I'm going to talk about next, but don't like the offense worse in my opinion. So kind of just combine them both, and that's how we got here. So for Paz, numbers: infield 8, outfield 9, total offense 11, starters 4. Learn from me. Thank you, Paz, for taking my advice. Bullpen 10. Learn from me. Thanks for taking my advice. Total pitching 4. And then I have him as total team 5. I did this is another one where I flipped the tier. And again, the tiering kind of interchangeable. I don't really have like a set where they're going to finish. All right, so let's mark the top. Will Smith. Smith's WRC plus declined for the 4th straight season, but his 111 mark was still one of the top efforts from a catcher, especially one of the 6th most unplayed periods at the position. With Shohei Ohtani joining the Dodgers, Smith only served as a DH 3 times, so he ends up losing out of eligibility for this year. However, there is evidence that his drop in production wasn't necessarily due to extra games on the plate. April was his best month, and then the final month of September, he had a 397. So he had a great April. Second best was September, but he did fall off, which really killed me last summer, to a 279 in those like months was the average of the in between. So just something to look out on. Again, he's still in the top at least probably 4 catchers in the league. Nolan, he slugged just 357, however, he only managed 13 home runs over 607 plate appearances last season. Lack of power makes him a tough fit for a first baseman. You really want a first baseman that can kind of mash and then get you the defensive points on top of it. But first basemans are a billion a dozen, not a dime a dozen, a billion a dozen. So replaceable. Machado, he hit the most double plays in baseball this year. Concerning for me because that would which was 32. That's negative 64 for us with one guy on, and potentially up to negative 128 if he hit it every single time a base is loaded, which obviously is not going to happen. But just for statistics wise, 64 to 128 points in a digression. While it doesn't seem like a lot, if you're a 600-point player and let's just split that in the middle and call it 100. Now you're a 500-point player because the amount of double plays you hit into. So ESPN projects him at 524. If he hits in those double plays, is he a 475? A 400 player is usually a waiver wire ad. So a little concerning for me. Maybe they did factor this. They have him for 22. So that is a decent amount, but 10 more would take this down to kind of the number I was talking about. Alvarez, main differentiators from the game's elite are his injury history. He has made 7 trips to the IL at 30-plus days or more, which is tough for the fantasy numbers. Thomas, 28 homer, 20 steal campaign in 2023 seemed like a career year, and it was unfolding, and he should not be expected to reach those heights again. That said, there is room for a rebound, and the projected playing time gives him a decent floor for cross-category production. The rest of the offense, no problems with. I think Bellinger should get higher than that. Lawrence Butler should be higher than that. O'Neal Cruz should be higher than that. So there is these pieces here. That's why I kind of said I like the offense better, or the offense has room to get better. And I kind of kept flip-flopping them because I think a lot of guys are kind of less than they should be. And then down to the pitching, I only really wrote 2 things. Is Gallen. He missed roughly a month of 2024 with a hamstring injury, and his walk rate increased by more than 3 percentage points and led to his whip jumping from 1.12 to 1.26. Gallen's knuckle curve remains an excellent put-away pitch, but his four-seam fastball and slider were entirely hittable last season. And then I just wrote like a note here just to discuss Strider and Suarez together, like how long, and then ultimately, like what do we get? Like what do we get out of Strider after he missed all of last year after that injury? And then like what are we going to get from Ranger? Like he was one of the top 3 best pitchers in baseball for half the season last year, and then he was one of the worst for like the other half of the season. And then now he's hurt. So what are we going to get from these two? And then, Erod and Dave fill them out. So they would replace them, which would give Paz a boost up in the the thing that I kind of took into account. I like Waka as a 7. That's fucking awesome. And then, we talked about Gallon, Peralta probably should be a little bit better than this. And then, Lopez and Wheeler's not really much to speak of. Okay. Then we move, 1 second here. I just got a phone call. How do I mute this? 1 second. Okay, I have to go say bye to my daughter. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, I'm back with a cameo. This is my daughter Lila. All right, so let's finish this up here. Number 4, I have Miss D. Miss D did a good job. All right, let's bring her up here. All right, we got 4 teams left. Okay. Miss D's metrics. I have her as the number 1 infield in the league, the number 10 rest, number 5 total offense. And then I have her 6 starters, 9 bullpen, total pitching 5. And then, like I said, I have her interchangeable with pause 4-5. And right now I put her at 4 because I just thought the offense pitching combo was a little bit better than pauses, but they're interchangeable. Okay. So we'll start out. Where's Carp? I didn't take as we go further for the newcomers. There's less and less notes because there's less to see about concern of players. So we should be able to motor through this. Okay. So I wrote Carpenter. He's spent time in the IL in each of the last 3 seasons, twice for spinal issues, and has a gapping 90-point WOBA split so far in the majors. Carpenter's at a critical stage of his career at age 27 with a chance of developing into one of the game's best power hitters, but also has the downside of mere daily league matchups dynamo. And then I really didn't write anything about I like this offense. Perez, great. Bryce Harper, fine. Altuve, Jose Maria is one of the best. Dansby Swanson, he's getting older, so maybe that will be a replacement. But you got Bogarts here. Maybe she could play the hot hand when he's away from Wrigley, play Dansby when and when he is at Wrigley playing Xander. Ian Happ, he's been able to power, at least I shouldn't say power through, he's been able to hit through the Wrigley wind, just not really with power numbers. Bretton Doyle, fine. And we just talked about Carpenter, Jock Peterson. He'll be replaceable within the month, but he's a good player to have for handiness wise. And then Nathaniel Lowe at the utility. So that's all good. And then I really only took 2 notes about the pitching staff. Cease, perfect. Sanchez, fine. Barrios, I don't know. I can't believe he won. I think I text pause this. He won like 18 games last year, and he tied for second in the American League. I did not know that. 16 games and tied for second in the American League. So pretty crazy. He had a way better year than I thought. Singer, I like that. People are like, oh, well, he's in Cincy now, but he's also a sinker pitcher, so should be fine. And then obviously I wrote a note about Evaldi and Lopez as a 7. Like, yeah, why not? So then my notes were DeGrom. He's managed to put up 197.1 innings over the last 4 seasons due to his body constantly failing him, which is a shame considering he's one of the best pitchers of this generation. The right-hander last worked another full season 2019 when he pitched his 3rd consecutive season of 200-plus innings while winning his 2nd consecutive Cy Young Award. He made it back for 3 starts at the end of 2024 and essentially picked up where he left off with 14 strikeouts and 1 walk over those outings. It's an ultimate risk reward pick because at least Tyler Glasnow is good for 100+ innings during his injuries. But DeGrom, like I said, he's barely worked 100 over the past 3 seasons combined. But even 100 innings of DeGrom's brilliance is more valuable having on your roster and take a shot at than not having it all. And then Evaldi, like we talk about this all the time, elite stuff, always over projected. And you always have to worry about when he's going to get hurt. This is the first year they've had him under 700, so it's about time they've adjusted. But he's usually in the 700s and never gets above 6. And when you own Evaldi, you have to say to yourself, like a Kyle Seager type, how long, or Corey Seager type, how long, and who am I going to get, and how many times is it going to happen? And it's just tough in a fantasy baseball season. You can deal with that in an MLB season. You can't in a fantasy. Okay, so this brings me to tier 1. These are all interchangeable. At 3, I have Mike because I think he has the 7 total offense. And I thought the other 2 teams, which obviously now there's only 3 left, would be myself and Nico, have the better offenses. And that's kind of why I put them higher, but interchangeable. I kind of like Nico's team better than my own, and I like Mike's potential for pitching better than mine too. So we're kind of interchangeable here, but to Mike. Okay. Here we go. We're going to go through the ESPN. I'm only going to load when I feel like it again, like last year. Oh, all right. Do you want to go upstairs? You okay?
Okay.
Okay. All right. So Connor Wong, tale of 2 halves last year, and metrics point to the bad picture to a tune of a 2.46 second half, then a 3.07 first half. Cronenworth appeared headed for a rebound season 2024, posting a 753 OPS in the first half. This killed me last year before dipping back to a 650 after the break. It'd be incorrect to label him just a slap hitter, but Cronenworth's slugging percentage has fallen below 400 each of the past 3 years now. He does retain second base eligibility, which is huge because he's getting 200 points in first base, defensive points as a second baseman. Arenado. Performance has taken a step backwards in both of the last 2 campaigns, coinciding with the typical downward aging curve a player set to turn 34 years old in April might follow. Back and form injuries in those seasons might have played a part, but Arenado has never seen such poor contact quality metrics as he did in 2024. Adames playing in the Brewers' home run-friendly ballpark. Adames managed his personal best with 32 home runs, 112 RBIs, 93 runs scored, 153 hits, 33 doubles, 21 stolen bases, 74 walks, 208 total bases last year, while also pacing all major leaguers with all of the plate appearances and RBIs. The park switch definitely shows some aggression would have to come. So that is something to look at. I know he had him last year though, so he probably wanted him back. Rosarena, again, this is kind of also why I put Mike at 3 because there's just a lot of question marks for me too on the offense. Rosarena's stock has fallen the past calendar year. He got off to a brutal start in 2024 with a 4.61 OPS through the end of April, and the Rays later traded him to the Mariners for a pair of prospects and a player to be named later. T-Mobile Park in Seattle was the worst in baseball for offense last year based on MLB park factors, and the lineup around him is underwhelming. Worst of all, for his long-term outlook, Rosarena's defense has been dismal, wiping out a lot of his value to real-world teams. Eventually, that will cost him playing time, and the volume will no longer be there to keep in your lineup. Julio Rodriguez, here's one of the most disappointing players of 2024. His ADP was 18 overall last year, and he finished 55th in Roto and 170th in fantasy points. So that's, I don't even know, quick math. That's probably 7 rounds worse than he was projected. Pena, high ground ball rates limit his home run power. Pena has improved his strikeout rate each season he's been in the majors, but he has not shown any willingness to accept walks. Pena has also stolen double-digit bases each season, but his success rate has been below league average since the rule adjustments 2 seasons ago. His importance puts him in the bottom of the half of the lineup, which limits his overall upside. Or his impatience, I'm sorry. Why did I say importance? I have no idea. Down to the pitching. Luis Castillo. Castillo's homers have increased, though the corresponding drop in BABIP has lowered his whip, so he's no longer a detriment in that category. After 2 seasons with a strikeout rate over 27%, Castillo slid to 24.3% last season, coinciding with a drop in swinging rate. His once vaunted changeup lost some of its effectiveness, likely due to his four-seam fastball dropping a couple ticks. Blanco, his underlying numbers paint a picture of good fortune last year, so he was super lucky. Also, what's he without a full season of PEDs? I think he was on Anavar. Sean Manaea, maintaining the gains he had last year is a fair question, as he's never done what he did in 2003 before any other season in his career. Severino and the rest of Athletics will be playing their home games at Sutter Health Park in West Sacramento this season, in a park that will also remain the same home to AAA Sacramento Rivercats or the Pacific Coast League. The move does not bode well for pitching staffs, at least not on paper. Strikeout rate has fallen precipitously over recent years, from 30% at its peak to 21.1% he had last season. So that's a pretty big drop-off. That's all I wrote. Honestly, looking at it now, I might move Mike's team back to the tier and slide Paz and Misty up. So kind of have Mike. I didn't realize I had this many concerns about Mike's team until now. Okay. Something to think about in a couple minutes. All right. And then last but not least, I never review my own team. I usually let someone else do it. But we're short. So I only wrote a couple things about Nico's team here. I probably have Nico as the best team, I think, in my opinion. Probably. I like what he did here. I know Nico, he's good at this stuff, and he's getting used to our league. I think this is only his 3rd year, maybe 4th year. I don't know. Time goes by fast, but neither here nor there. Nico understands that this league is built that covers every player and not just some guy that mashes 50 home runs and whatever. It's about the overall totality of the player and kind of goes to exactly how the back of the baseball card looks. So I think he's been making those adjustments, and I think it showed in this draft. So Nico's numbers: 3rd infield, 8th outfield, total offense 6, number 2 starters, number 7 bullpen, and then total pitching is number 1 overall. I think he has the best overall pitching staff in the league. And then if you have the overall pitching staff, you are going to be 1, which is why I have Mike at 2 and myself at 3. Did I do Mike's numbers? Mike, in case I didn't. Mike is 12 infield, 3 rest, 7 total offense, number 1 starters, number 8 bullpen, and number 2 total pitching. So you notice that the 3 teams that have the best pitching I have in the tier 1. There's no bias. It's just how I do my projections and what I believe. All right, Simeon has barely been above a 300 on-base percentage in 2 of the past 3 years, so the move would be justified, but that combination of more days off and a lower spot in the order could wreak havoc on the second baseman's counting stats. His plate skills are holding steady, and he can still run a bit, but Simeon is trending in the wrong direction. The track record carries a bit less weight at this stage. Peter Kerr Armstrong hits the ball with more authority than others that are relying on steals. for fantasy purposes, but he strikes out more and lacks patience. Kerr Armstrong also hit more fly balls than a typical speed merchant. Lowe appeared in only 160 games last season. A hamstring issue delayed his debut until early May, and then he was subsequently sidelined with an oblique injury. Lowe appeared overly aggressive at times, swinging at pitches outside the strike zone, and yet he was still too passive in the zone, resulting in a high 31.8% strikeout rate. Kyle Schwarber, overall improvement stemmed from hitting southpaw better than right-handers for the first time in his entire career. Splits like this are often anomalies, so expect regression as Schwarber's platoon splits likely revert back to career levels. And then I know he had Acuna here early. Like, I don't know. This just concerns me. I don't know why he did this. I wish he would have just got somebody else and maybe tried to hold out on Acuna, but like, I mean, they're targeting June, and then like he's not even allowed to take stuff till mid-May, and now you're looking at June, and then like if he has a little setback or there's soreness, scar tissue, now you're looking at like June, July, and it's just like, again, in a points league, I know I've talked about this for a bunch of different players over this entire thing, like it's about every day and beating the guy every day and every week, and regardless of what he puts up, just like Corey Seager in the 2 months time or 3 months time, and how good he is, it's just not enough if you only have him for half the time that you need him. So I don't know. I wish he held out there. I understand the pick and I understand what he could be. And I also understand that that there's keeper, for, giving away your draft pick for keepers coming up soon. So I get it, but I don't know. Just think, I don't know. I'm a like win today guy and worry about the keepers the next guy. It's just always how I've kind of done it. Down to the pitching. So like Francis and Huck, like I had both last year. Well, one had dead arm and the other one was awful and non-ownable, and then like unbelievable in the bottom half, and then like was a mess again, like a last start or two. Tanner's dead arm in his first year is expected, but like also they're talking about inning capping him this year. So that's concerning. And that would be concerning for me as like having this staff as high as I do. If Bowden is fine and then Tanner is another one, again, you can only help him for so long. I need you when I need you. And that's the playoffs. And then he'll like, I don't know. We see this all the time. They're like, oh, latch strain 1-2 months. And then like, you have the Noah Syndergaards, they're out for the year. The Biebers out for the year. So it's like they always downplay the last strain like it's nothing, and then it ends up being a serious thing, especially for pitchers with that torque. I was going to touch on Fetty, but like he's, Heel's probably the replacement, and this is I don't know who he added for Heel instead, but anyway. So all right, that wraps up everybody. Like I said, I never do myself. I always throw out my 6 playoff teams, so I will do that. I am going to take myself because the rotation I have. Nico, rotation. I have a lot more concerns about Mike's team than I thought I did. I'm going to leave him out. I'm going to have Miss D following in the footsteps of I know how her son's active in knowledge in. So Ryan, Nico, Miss D, that's 3. Paz definitely with the starting staff. That's 4. Josh, 5. I think he'll make the adjustments needed. I've known him and he's been in for a long time prior to his departure. I don't think Ryan and Justin are good enough to have a chance. I don't like Jay's team. My mom and dad need to find a bunch more to get to 5. I'm going to go with Tom. Ryan, Nico, Miss D, Paz, Josh, Tom. 6 playoff teams. Hope you all enjoyed it. Wasn't as in-depth as I usually do. Still went 1:42. Love you guys. Thanks for joining. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for sticking with Jay and I. I don't know. I think that's all I got. Have a great season. Happy opening day tomorrow. Go Duke. Let's win this whole thing. Lila and I. Say bye, Lila. Signing off. Wave. Later, everyone.